We took care of the engine first.
In the
that
garage, making sure it's running. And
that pretty much kept the company afloat, so we could take our time and find the J. Coles and the Rita Oras and make sure they had the proper A&R.
In terms of, you bought your masters back from Jay-Z, you sold your masters back to Cole. Well, when did that happen? And how does that affect y'all? Of course, I still think y'all are fly, but buying the masters back explains why I don't see as much Cole Hove as I feel like I should.
I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for, you know, the other two guys that I'm constantly, you know, up against, which is like Cole and Kendrick.
Three-headed monster.
Yeah. So I have a lot of respect for those guys because they also continue to, you know, stay true to what we started with.
So you are aware of how Drake recently decided to take some digs at J. Cole questioning his place in the industry by sharing an old tweet about Jay-Z supposedly having no respect for Job. Well, it got fans wondering why Drake decided to bring up this old drama and where J. Cole and Jay-Z stand now. Cole and Jay-Z were never exactly BFFs to begin with, but let's not forget that Cole was the first artist Jay to rock Nation. Cole spent over a decade repping Jay's label, so you'd think they'd be more friendly, right? But it seems like their relationship was always a bit off. Technically, there was never any major beef between Jay-Z and J. Cole, but there's this long-running theory that Jay got in his feelings about Cole's tight relationship with Nas. Now, we all know about the legendary feud between Jay-Z and Nas, so when Nas gave Cole a stamp of approval, it probably didn't sit well with Jay-Z. Rumor has it that Jay made Cole pay top dollar for his masters when he wanted to leave Rock Nation, almost as a way to punish him for getting too cozy with Nas. And just when you think it couldn't get any messier, enter Drake, who's had his own rocky history with Jay-Z and J. Cole. So with Drake fanning the flames, it really makes you wonder what really went down between Jay and Cole did there. Their relationship, Nas's actions, caused them to disintegrate. Did Drake's actions also contribute to the fallout? Or is there more subdued drama that remains hidden? After all this time behind wraps, let's explore and discover.
No, but I think in the case of J. Cole, I think that A&R development really helped him and worked for him. You know, the album that he put out was an album that he brought in the first time, and he thought he was ready, you know. And now, and you look at his career now, he's in the place of, you know, he's gonna be here for as long as he wants to do it.
Drake, never one to let go of a grudge, appears to still harbor resentment towards J. Cole for what he perceives as a betrayal during the infamous beef with Kendrick Lamar. Recently, Drake decided to get petty about it, taking to his secret Instagram account, @PlotWithMcKingCole, to subtly shade his former friend. The latest instance of Drake's lingering bitterness emerged when he reignited an old drama involving J. Cole and Jay-Z, showcasing just how deep these wounds run for the Toronto rapper. Earlier this month, Drake dropped a massive 100-gigabyte content dump on the internet, which included everything from unreleased music and behind-the-scenes footage to a plethora of shady posts aimed at various figures in the hip-hop industry. Among these posts, one in particular caught the attention of fans: a screenshot of a viral tweet from 2019 that mocked J. Cole's strained relationship with his former ROC Nation boss, Jay-Z. This post wasn't just a random throwback, it was one of many similar posts dating back to June 2024, all hinting at Drake's unresolved feelings about Cole's loyalty, or lack thereof. The post that Drake shared read, "Remember when J. Cole got his phone stolen out of his pocket by a fan, and they called Jay-Z from it, but he wasn't answering. So they called from their own phones and he picked up." This sly dig at Cole's relationship with Jay-Z was clearly a calculated move by Drake, signaling that he hasn't forgotten how things played out during the Kendrick Lamar beef. To provide some context, the tension between Drake and J. Cole dates back to the time when Cole decided to distance himself from the ongoing feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Instead of choosing sides, Cole remained neutral, which Drake perceived as a lack of support from someone he considered a friend. This perceived betrayal was compounded by the fact that J. Cole later appeared on Future and Metro Boomin's album We Still Don't Trust You, which was filled with tracks throwing subtle shade at Drake. The fact that Cole was featured on an album that seemed to be taking shots at Drake only deepened the rift between the two rappers. Drake's recent Instagram activity seems to indicate that he's still nursing those old wounds, unable to forgive what he sees as a significant betrayal. The posts on his secret account are a mix of old grudges and new jabs, suggesting that Drake is far from ready to move on. It's classic Drake, emotional, petty, and always ready to let the world know when he's feeling slighted. Fans quickly picked up on the renewed tension, with some pointing out that Drake's behavior might be a bit over the top, while others supported him, arguing that loyalty is paramount in the industry. Meanwhile, J. Cole has remained silent on the matter, choosing not to engage in the drama, at least publicly. The resurfacing of this old drama between Drake and J. Cole highlights the complicated dynamics within the hip-hop community, where friendships can be as volatile as rivalries. As for Drake, his recent actions suggest that he's not done airing out his grievances, and it's likely that this beef is far from over. Whether or not J. Cole will respond remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: Drake's penchant for pettiness continues to keep fans in the industry on their toes. Kendrick and Drake with that big 3-line he dropped on his track with Drake first-person shooter. Basically, folks were saying Cole started the pot, just enough to get Drake all R up, but when Kendrick clapped back instead of backing Drake up, Cole went and apologized, leaving Drake out there to face Kendrick on his own. But hold up, because those who have been following Kendrick vs. Drake the saga, you see, this feud simply wasn't sparked by Cole's verse. In fact, it was inevitable that Kendrick would go all in on Drake eventually. In reality, this has been simmering for over 10 years. I'm talking way back to Kendrick's legendary verse on Big Sean's 2013 track Control. That's where it all started, with Kendrick name-dropping everyone, including Drake, and Drake being Drake. He got in his feelings about Kendrick's verse, even though Kendrick technically didn't diss him. And honestly, if we're spilling all the tea, Drake's been sneak dissing Kendrick for years now, so if anyone's to blame for this feud reaching a boiling point, it's Drake himself. He's been poking the bear, and now that Kendrick has finally clapped back, Drake's out here looking for backup that just isn't there now besides that shady fat post. Drake also called out Cole on his diss songs Push Up and Family Matters, rapping, "I don't care what Cole thinks, that dude was weak AF, and Cole losing sleep on this, it ain't me." As for Kendrick, he didn't address Cole's apology, but on Not Like Us, he accused Drake of doing Cole dirty. But can we talk about how Drake just randomly decided to drag up Cole's old drama with Jay-Z? Why is Drake bringing up ancient history out of nowhere, and what even went down between Cole and Jay-Z back in the day to make this such a sore spot? The timing is so suspicious, it makes you wonder what Drake's real agenda is here. So J. Cole and Jay-Z had an interesting relationship from the outside. Looking in, Drake signed with Jay's label in February 2009, becoming Roc Nation's first artist. But Cole and Jay were never really close like that. It seems like they had a strictly business relationship, not a personal one, and they only made 2 songs together in over a decade that Cole spent with Roc Nation. Now, it is a little strange how Jay-Z has never truly given J. Cole his flowers. I mean, he did it a few times, but it was very lukewarm, and this is the first artist he signed to Roc Nation, who is also considered top 3 by many, and yet Jay-Z barely talks about Cole, never shouted him out, and pretty much had to be reminded of Cole's existence in interviews. At one point, it got so obvious that Jay was avoiding Cole that it became a running meme online about how Cole couldn't even get a pic with Jay. Also remember Jay's collab with Drake, Pound Cake, Paris Morton Music 2, where he named all the artists and executives he made rich. The part where he says, "I've done made more millionaires than the lotto did." Millions were made by Dame, Biggs, yeah, and Liars, and only millions were produced by them. Hey, Cole also made millions during his time with Roc Nation, so why did Jay-Z go out of his way to exclude him? He even dropped Dame Dash, who has been publicly criticizing Jay for years, but nothing about Cole. You have to admit that something is off here, and this is where things get messy because of none other than Jay-Z's longtime nemesis Nas. Remember Cole's track Let Nas Down from his 2013 Born Center album? It's the one where Cole spills all the tea about how Jay-Z demanded a hit record after signing him, and it's also the track where Cole refers to Nas's iconic 1994 album Illmatic as Bible and talks about Nas being his biggest influence. Growing up, I was afraid that Jeter Under Pressure, the greatest hit of my career, wouldn't be evident at first, and Ninjas had no clue. I was striking out for months in the 9th inning while growing up in company. RPS. Hope asking. Dion contacted me when it dropped, sounding serious but unhappy. He added, "Now that I hear you single, he hates that you're the one my heart sank. Damn, I can't believe I let N down." I became defensive over the phone, harboring animosity. Cole felt pressured to deliver a hit album, and he did so with a massive hit workout featuring a Kanye sample. However, while Jay-Z was delighted to give Cole a release date for his album, Nas seemed disappointed, believing that Cole had compromised his skill to please the mainstream. However, Nas later jumped on the remake of Let Nas Down, renaming it, which made Nas proud and made it clear that he wasn't actually upset with Cole. Nas waps on the remix I Am Mad at You, Young King. This unsung song is haunting. Along comes one son called an offspring. At least you got Jay, he's already one of the greats. And it's hard for the great to tell somebody how to be great, and this line was a pretty big deal taking into consideration all the beef that Nas had with Jay, but here's where things get a bit sticky given the messy history between Nas and Jay-Z. This whole exchange between Cole and Nas probably didn't sit well with Jay, even though Nas technically acknowledged Jay as one of the greats. Some fans took Nas's line about Jay as him low-key calling out Jay's business moves, suggesting that Cole should have had more creative freedom instead of caving to label pressures, and knowing that Jay is almost as petty as Drake, he probably caught on to this subtle shade. Besides that, when Cole bought back his master from Roc Nation, he rapped about it on M-Delete later, where he says, "Why, I'll ask Jiger, how much did the kid gross for that label? Pay dues, had to pay dude for my masters. But I'm grateful, business is business now." On the one hand, Cole did say he was grateful to Jay-Z for letting him buy his masters back, but on the other hand, this could also be interpreted as Cole expressing his frustration over Jay-Z making him pay so much for his masters despite how much he made for the label. Now, the exact amount Cole paid Jay-Z for his masters hasn't been disclosed, but word on the street is that Cole paid him dearly for them, because as the first S of Roc Nation, Cole really exceeded all expectations, so you'd think Jay would meet him halfway, and instead Jay charged him top dollar for his own discography instead of just working with him a little bit. But let's be honest, is anyone surprised? I mean, has Jay-Z ever not been about money first and foremost? But wait, there's more. So that same year Nas and Cole dropped the remix to Let Nas Down, Jay-Z decided to give out his features to Drake on Nothing Was the Same and Kendrick on the Don't Kill My Vibe remix. And by the way, it's been a running theory that Jay-Z always releases music around the same time as Nas out of pure pettiness. But the fact that Jay-Z decided to give features to Drake and Kendrick and not Cole was strange to say the least. Now, as for Drake's messy self and his role in all this, there's this wild theory that Jay and Cole had conversations about throwing shade at Drake during Jay and Drake's back and forth. This theory gained traction after Kendrick went for Drake on the Heart Part 4 and name-dropped Jay-Z, reminding Drake that he's nowhere near Jay's level. As for Cole, he referenced people wanting to diss Drake on Middle Child, but chose to stay neutral, showing love to Drake instead. So after Cole apologized to Kendrick and backed out of